Hi, Wendy Johnston with Keystone Elder Care Solutions. Here's another Elder Matters video on long distance caregiving. So, many of you probably don't know, but part of the reason why I became a private geriatric case manager was the whole situation around my dad. You know, always had an interest around working with seniors and family caregivers, but it was my own personal experience with my dad that led me to the field of and the world of private geriatric case management. So when I was pregnant with my daughter about 10 years ago, I was working in Vancouver, and my family lives in Toronto. And I was at a board meeting with a nonprofit that I worked with, and off in the distance I could hear the phone ring, and it was about 5:30, and of course you're not thinking anything of it until my work colleague came in, and she said, "Wendy, it's your brother on the phone. It's about your dad. It's urgent." And like my heart just stopped. I thought, oh my goodness, like has he died? Like what's happened? My dad had a little bit of health issues with a brain tumor, benign, and various surgeries, and so there was always a bit of a risk. We knew that his health wasn't ideal. So I got on the phone, and my brother said, "Wendy, it's about Dad. He's had a severe stroke. He's in the hospital. We're not sure where things are at, but don't come home yet. We're not sure, what's happening. I'll keep you in the loop, and then you can decide what you need to do." So of course, the next couple of days were crazy emotionally. It was like an emotional roller coaster. And living in Vancouver and not being in Toronto was really hard. And having that long distance between us and trying to connect with my siblings was a real challenge. So long distance caregiving is really hard for family members, especially when maybe your parents live alone or the person you're caring for lives alone in a community, or if you have a sibling there and most of the work ends up falling to them. It can get very stressful. It's also really difficult to know, when do you jump in, when do you get in the plane, when you get in the car and come over, what kind of situations warrant that. It's also really hard to get a pulse or a sense of how that person's doing over the phone. It's also hard to kind of extract information sometimes from them in terms of medical issues or follow-up appointments. So a couple of tips for long distance caregivers, or things to consider to that might work for you in caring from afar. So number one is usually listen first, act later. We have an impulse, and I'm the same way, where we just want to react. So our aging parent might tell us a situation about the physician appointment, and we're thinking, oh my goodness, there's an emergency going on, or I need to be over there right now. It's really important to listen, get all the information, and then act later. And sometimes it's getting the information from different people, getting a sense of if a situation has changed, how it's changed, to understand where the baseline is. A really good resource for families to think about using is actually my book, Getting Your Elder Care Affairs in Order. It's a great foundation piece, especially for long distance caregivers who have parents living elsewhere. It's a great tool to use when you come and visit them, to get the necessary information, to ask the right questions. The second bit that you can do from caring from afar is getting to know who's on the person that you're caring for, their team, their care team. So what neighbors are involved, what other family members are involved, what other healthcare professionals are involved, and start having conversations, opening up dialogue, not excluding your aging parent, of course, but having them provide some additional support, additional resources, and finding out what they're already doing, what they're noticing, and then usually that can de-escalate the situation, or it can, open your eyes a bit more to say, okay, well, we do need to make some decisions, or I do need to come out for a visit. The third area is really understanding what's available in the community, and doing some research on those options. It's really helpful to know also the person you're caring for, their financial situation. So can they afford private care, or can they afford a housekeeper, transportation? So it's good to get a lay of the land of what's available in the community. Of course, with the internet, we have that information at our fingertips, and there's a series of questions or information that you want to gather from those care providers. It's also really important to know what existing services or supports the person you're caring for is already using. so that when you do have those conversations and questions, you can start building your care plan. The fourth one is have a quarterback, find a quarterback. That might be you, it might be a sibling, or it might be a neighbor who lives in the community. It's really important to have one person who does the overarching coordination or the overarching keeping people informed or collecting information and having it in one spot. Essentially, that's what a case manager would do, would be that individual that would collect all that information in one spot and then help to make a big picture of what's going on, and then being able to use that information then to make better decisions. And the last tip that I would say is know your limit, care within it. It can get really stressful. It can get really overwhelming not knowing if a parent is safe. And it's also important to realize that, for the most part, we all have the right to live at risk. And so if there are some, concerns around how an aging parent is living, to also know that it is their right to live that way, even though you may not agree with it. Also, if you are really concerned about their well-being, then of course, there's nothing, precluding to, come out and deal with that situation at hand, but also to know that it's okay to have a family come in or a friend come in to check in on the situation a little more regularly if need be, if you're not able to do it. But also that, thinking about it 24 hours a day isn't also, going to help the situation for yourself as well. So know your limit, care within it, and know what you're, what you're able to do, and areas that you do have to simply let go of or have other people manage if you're not able to do so. So thank you very much for watching. You can hop on over to my blog at keystoneeldercare.com for articles on caring from afar, as well as some other videos that may be of interest to you.